Hello, everyone. Sterling White here. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in. You know the next steps. Hit that subscribe button just below, those of you who are on the YouTube, and also that ring bell button that's somewhere down there. Appreciate everyone so much who's on these, and comment below if you happen to have any questions. I'm here to be of value and service. And just on these, I share my journey as an entrepreneur, investor in the industry. And those of you who are just now coming across me, just a spark note version about myself is born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, and humble beginnings. Single mother, grew up within subsidized housing, meaning Section 8, food stamps, and I'm sure any government assistance my mother then tell both my fraternal twin and I about. And so definitely saw some things that a kid should not see. And there was actually one point in time is my brother and we just ate dinner, and we were at one of those, we were about 5 or 6 years old, one of those little kid tables that's very small, like a little picnic table. And as soon as we left, a stray bullet just ended up going right through where we were sitting. So who knows, I may have not been sitting here today. And the same thing with my brother, who actually took a not so good path in life and facing hard time due to that. Still speak to him on a weekly basis. Love him. That's my fraternal twin brother. So, and ultimately shifted into the investing side started construction in 2009, shifted to the investing side at the age of 23 years old, bought my first deal, and this was 2013, no money out of pocket, was able to leverage someone else's cash, and then able to get up to 150 or so single families. And then in 2017, made the complete shift to multifamily, was able to get just under, 587 the total unit count, and have since exited out of all those single families, so only own a multifamily entirely. So in today's just topic, I'll be going over just the highlights of 2019 for myself. It was definitely, I took some reflection, and there may be a continued episode because there's tons of things that I need to further reflect upon. This year was, I would say, the past 3 to 4 years have been quite a bit of a blur because they've just happened so fast, and a lot that's just had my head down, just constantly just going and going towards my goals and dreams. So hope that's the same case for you. But we'll start off with the first, this is a lesson that was learned, was that everything is my fault. Meaning that if let's say in a business, for instance, that a certain employee is answering the phone incorrectly on the customer service line, that instead of looking at it as, why are they not doing that correctly? They should know, I've told them over 1,000,000 times. It's for me to reflect, take ownership of that situation and say, okay, how me as an operator can better train that person to where they're able to get it, because that's it. It's just about accepting more ownership versus having the victim mentality, deciding to blame others. So if you have the everything is your fault, then you have more control. It's just a different way to think about things. That's one thing that I was able to just have that type of belief replaced with a new one. And I'm all about beliefs and all about mindset. The second is that in revolving your business around, and this is just me sharing my personal perspective, is that revolving your business more around what your employees or team members that you're bringing on board, what their goals are. So understanding on an individual basis where that person is looking to get to versus just looking at it as an overarching business. Yes, it's an overarching business and company, but you have people that are helping you build to what you're looking to go for. People being your employees and teammates that you bring on staff. So it's just understanding where that person is looking to go and align with whatever department, whatever role to get them what they need, whether that's skills, money, more time with their family, etc. So that's one thing. Another unlock for me is just being more employee oriented, because that's one thing that I myself has been a weakness, just full transparency, and just the management of people. And that's why I always look to hire someone now to facilitate that, because I'm more of just an operator that's go, go, go. But I also understand how vitally important it still is to have that. And that's just what I've learned from other operators that have companies that are doing was it 9 figures, 10 figures in terms of their revenue. So just replicating what they're doing. The third one is I was able to close on my largest deal to date. Excited, woo! Which was the 156 units that was here in Indianapolis. Needed quite a bit of work, and the purchase was closer to about $6 million for the 156 units. Yes, very affordable in terms of price per door here in this market, the Indianapolis market, and putting closer to $2 million in terms of renovations on that. So the prior to that, the largest acquisition was 80 units. So essentially, in essence, doubled it by the most recent one for that. And there was tons of lessons that were learned on that acquisition alone, and that still getting through I would say was it post-acquisition now with taking over management, have taken over management, implementing more professionalize everything, and now starting to turn all of the units as well to put in the two-tone paint scheme, vinyl plank flooring, so make the upgrades to push up the rents, which in essence will push up the value of the asset. And so through that whole process, one limiting belief that I had, but I was still pressing on it, was that the higher the unit count that you tend to go, the more sophisticated the operators, which is true in that case. But I thought anything over 100 units would be virtually just about very slim to close through a cold call, because that's always my primary focus. And that ended up going direct to the owner of this specific property. They were interested in selling. It took a while for, of course, follow-ups to then actually get things locked up and then close. But I always thought for that owners that have apartments over 100 units, they will just go with the broker instead, but was able to build a relationship on this specific deal and was able to get direct to the owner and ended up saving closer to about $1 million on that. Because if it was listed, it would have got about $1 million more than what was paid for. So that comes down to, those of you who are on here, persistence, and then also just believe is what it comes down to. Is even though so myself, as I was going into the unknown on the acquisition side, not knowing how many deals would be closed, if a deal would be closed. Well, actually, I did have the belief that a deal would be closed if I just kept putting in the work. But that just comes down to commit first and then figure the rest out later. Is I didn't have all the answers. I just knew that I needed to pull a list, find out who owns the property. A lot of times it's an LLC, skip trace LLC, find who the actual owner is, first and last name, and then find their contact information, then pick up the phone. And I knew that process, and then from there, that's the steps I started taking. So there's that on the acquisitions. The next one is to reach up. Don't ever hesitate to reach up. So just recently, you may have already saw the podcast episode on the real estate experience with Grant Cardone, who is someone who's been very influential for me personally. But how I was able to get him on the podcast was I just simply walked up and asked. As simple as that. And at first he said, yeah, one of those types of things. So I believe he actually was not paying attention, may have been paying attention, but this is where the whole follow-up came into play. So that it's all sales is what it comes down to. So not hesitating to reach up. Many people may have looked at someone like a Grant or someone who is achieving high levels of success as I'm not going to be able to get that person on my podcast or should engage it with them until I get to that level. At the end of the day, they're a human being just like you. That's the way I look at it. And if he can do what he's done, I can do that. This is just a mindset for me personally. All right, so now on the personal side, I was able to reconnect with my father, who I haven't seen in close to 20 years, completely just when I was younger, was out of the picture entirely. And that's what, of course, why I had a single mother who loved my mom. She did the best with what she could, and definitely proud of her for doing all the things that she did to raise both my brother and I. And yeah, that interaction that I have with my father I just believe it's going to be toxic. So we'll end up just keeping that at a distance at this point in time. Maybe things will change in the future. Who knows? But that's just going to be the way it is for right now. But that was one thing that happened this year in 2019. All right, and the last one is joining EO. So EO is it's entrepreneur organization. And in 2019, I made a conscious effort of just going out there, networking more, building connections, because I experienced this myself, and I'm sure other entrepreneurs do as well, and business owners, is that it could be quite lonely. Many people don't talk about this because this goes back to the first point, is that everything, me personally, I've taken the mindset that everything is my fault. So everything trickles down to me, and if things hit the fan, it's on me at the end of the day. So that can cause a lot of stress, but that's also empowering at the same time. And so the biggest takeaways that I've been able to get from EO is that the peer group that I have, it's like a mastermind, and there's other business owners that are in there that you meet with on the monthly basis and even weekly, and it's just not focused on the business side, but also everything outside of that. Even on your family, those are things that we discuss, and it's full transparency where people share as well of how they were able to navigate the difficulties of raising a kid, or whether someone just went through a divorce, or just tons of different things that are just being a human being, because it's just not about business. It's about you as an overarching individual. I'm trying to figure out how to exactly word that exactly, but hope you get what I mean, because if your business is crushing it, but everything outside of that is falling apart, then you as a person, there's definitely going to be some holes, and then one day you could just implode. So there's that. So those are the biggest highlights for me personally in 2019. Comment below, would love to hear yours as well. And then also check out that podcast with Grant Cardone. And if you haven't, don't forget to hit that subscribe button just below, and that ring bell button too. There we go. Thank you. Have a great one. Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Experience. If this has brought you any value, please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It would mean the world to me. Now go out there and crush it.